All right, so today we're diving into something pretty wild. There's this YouTube video making the rounds, and it claims you can make bank by re-uploading videos, get this, from Chinese social media apps.
Sounds kind of far-fetched, right?
Yeah, I was skeptical too, but apparently some folks are raking in thousands of dollars a month doing this, so we got to figure out what's really going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do we even start with this? I mean, most people barely keep up with the apps we have here, let alone ones from China.
Right. So the video focuses on these apps, like Douyin. Ever heard of it?
Rings a bell. Isn't that like the Chinese version of TikTok or something?
Exactly. It's like TikTok's older, cooler sibling. Then there's Kuaishou and Xiaohongshu, these other massive platforms. Most people outside China have never even heard of them,
So it's like we're tapping into this whole hidden world of viral content.
pretty much.
Okay, but how does this whole re-uploading thing actually work?
So the video lays out a four-step process. It starts with you finding trending videos on those Chinese apps.
Makes sense. Find the good stuff, right?
Then you download them.
Okay, but wouldn't those have watermarks all over them?
You got it. So the video suggests using screen recording and cropping to get rid of the watermarks.
Seems like a lot of work.
It is, and that's where things get even more interesting. The next step involves AI.
AI, hold on, I thought we were just talking about re-uploading.
We are, but the video recommends using AI tools like InVideo to polish things up. Add voiceovers, music, captions, even fancy intros, all done by AI.
AI voiceover, seriously, isn't that kind of pushing it legally?
That's a really good question. We'll definitely get into the whole legality thing soon, don't worry.
Okay, good, because that's setting off some alarm bells for me.
Totally understandable. But to finish explaining the method, the last step is taking those jazzed up videos and uploading them to, well, everywhere these Chinese apps aren't big.
So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the usual suspects.
Yep. Basically, the idea is to capitalize on content that's kind of geographically restricted. Clever, but it does make you think, right?
It does. I mean, on one hand, it's like, wow, that's smart. But on the other, it feels kind of ethically iffy, you know?
You're hitting on the big issue here.
Yeah.
The video says the whole thing's totally legal, but, well, let's just say there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay, so red flag number 2. First, AI, now we're questioning the legality.
Re-uploading content, even if you change it up a bit, can be a legal nightmare, especially when it comes to something called copyright.
So even if those videos are from apps we don't really use here, copyright still matters.
Absolutely. Imagine you make this awesome video that blows up in China. You own the copyright to that, no matter where it ends up online. Someone grabs it, re-uploads it without asking you. Even with some new music and a voiceover, that could be breaking the law.
So that's a no-go, even with the fancy AI edits.
It's tricky. Couldn't someone argue that they've changed the video enough to make it their own? Like, what about fair use?
Fair use. Isn't that like the magic loophole everyone talks about online?
Ah, fair use. The most misunderstood part of copyright law. Probably. It basically means you're using someone else's work in a way that's, well, fair. But it's got to be for a specific purpose, like commentary or criticism. Just slapping on some music and a voiceover might not cut it.
So this YouTube video saying it's all legal, maybe not so much.
That's the thing. There's a real chance it might not be. And then there's the ethical side of things.
Yeah, that's what's been bugging me this whole time. It just feels wrong somehow.
Think about it. Someone else is making money from your creativity, and you don't even know about it.
Not cool.
Not cool at all. It's like, where do we draw the line between being inspired by something and straight up copying it?
Yeah, because trends travel across social media all the time. Sometimes a dance or a meme starts in one place and then blows up everywhere.
Exactly. Borrowing ideas is how creativity works, right?
Yeah.
But there's a difference between taking inspiration and just taking someone's work, especially if you're making money off of it. And this whole re-uploading thing, it feels more like the second one.
So even if it works, ethically, it's a hard pass.
You got it. And it makes you think about the bigger picture. Like, what does it mean to be a responsible content creator in today's world? The internet's a wild place.
No kidding. But let's say someone decides to ignore all the red flags and try this method anyway. Does it actually work? Can you really make all that money just by re-uploading?
The YouTube video claims you can. They even show examples of channels making bank doing this.
So it's not just finding a cool video and adding some bells and whistles with AI?
Not quite. There's more to it than that. You got to think about the online world. It's super competitive.
Yeah.
Just uploading something, even if it looks great, doesn't mean people will watch it.
So what's the secret sauce?
Engagement. That's the key. You need people to actually watch, like, comment, share your stuff, Got to build a community around your content. It's like any other business, really.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not a quick fix, it's building something real. But can you really do that with someone else's content? Is this re-uploading thing a legit strategy for the long haul, or is it just a quick cash grab?
That's the million-dollar question. You might make some quick cash, sure, but building a real online presence, that takes more than riding someone else's wave. You need something original, something authentic, something that connects with people on a real level.
It reminds me of those compilation videos that were huge a few years back. They were everywhere, then platforms started cracking down on copyright, and a lot of those channels just disappeared. Feels like this re-uploading method could go the same way, especially as AI gets better at detecting this kind of stuff.
You're totally right. The online world is constantly changing. What works today might be gone tomorrow. Betting everything on a strategy that, let's be honest, exploits loopholes and maybe even steals from other creators, that's a big risk.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that building something real online takes time, effort, and most importantly, originality. Speaking of originality, let's talk about the AI in the room. This whole method leans heavily on AI tools like InVideo for everything. Voiceovers, music, special effects, you name it. It makes you wonder about the future of content creation, doesn't it?
It totally does. These AI tools are powerful, no doubt. They can help creators do amazing things, but there's also a downside. What happens when everyone's using AI to create perfect content? Where's the human touch, the real connection that makes content worth watching?
Exactly. It's that personal touch that people crave. Can AI really replicate that?
That's the big question. In a world flooded with AI-generated content, authenticity and real human connection, those become even more valuable. Think about it. What if most of the stuff we see online is made by AI? What happens to human creators then? Do we just become curators of AI-generated stuff? It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it?
Well, no.
Maybe a little scary, but it highlights something really important. Creators need to adapt. We have to find ways to use these AI tools to our advantage, but without losing our own voices and perspectives.
So it's about finding that balance between human creativity and the power of AI.
Exactly. This re-uploading method might be a sneak peek into that future where AI plays a huge role in shaping online content. But it also shows us why human creativity still matters so much.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about this method. What are the key takeaways for our listeners? What do they need to know if they're thinking about trying this?
First things first, the legal side is murky at best. The YouTube video says it's fine, but copyright law is complicated. Downloading and re-uploading someone's content, even with changes, could get you into trouble.
So do your research, don't just take their word for it. What else should our listeners keep in mind?
The ethics of it all. Making money off someone else's hard work without their permission, that's just not right. We need to respect intellectual property.
Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. What else is important?
The video shows people making money with this method, but success online is never guaranteed. It's a tough world out there. Building a lasting presence takes more than just hopping on a trend. You need to be creative, be yourself, and connect with your audience authentically.
So this re-uploading thing might be a shortcut at first, but it's probably not going to lead to long-term success, especially if you're trying to build a brand and a community. What's the big takeaway from our deep dive today?
This whole conversation about re-uploading, it really highlights how AI is changing content creation. Tools like InVideo can be awesome, but we got to use them ethically and responsibly. Human creativity needs to stay at the heart of it all.
It's like AI should be a tool, not the boss. This whole topic is really making me think about the future of content.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it raises a big question for all of us. What happens if this re-uploading thing becomes the norm? How will that change how we see and value online content?
That's a great question to ponder. Will we start demanding more transparency, or will we just get used to a world where it's hard to tell what's human-made and what's AI-generated? Definitely something to think about.
Only time will tell, but this conversation about ethics in the age of AI, it's just getting started.
And we'll be here to keep exploring it with you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something about re-uploading videos from Chinese social media, the legal and ethical stuff, and how AI is changing content creation. Keep digging into these ideas, share your thoughts, and let's navigate this crazy digital world together. Until next time, keep those deep dive vibes flowing.
You need people to watch your stuff, like it, comment on it, share it with their friends. You got to build a community around what you're putting out there.
So it's not just about finding a video and slapping some AI magic on it. It's about the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
like building any other business, really. You need to nurture it, grow it. But can you really do that with someone else's content? Is this re-uploading thing a real long-term strategy, or is it just a quick way to make a buck?
That's what I'm wondering. Can you build something that lasts when you're starting with someone else's work?
You might make some money quickly, sure, but building a real online presence, something that people recognize and trust, that takes more than just jumping on someone else's trend. You need to bring something new to the table, something authentic, something that connects with people on a deeper level.
It makes me think of those compilation videos that were so popular a few years ago. Remember those? They were everywhere. And then platforms started cracking down on copyright, and a lot of those channels just vanished.
Yeah, they disappeared almost overnight.
It feels like this re-uploading method could end up the same way, especially as AI gets better at spotting this kind of stuff.
You're absolutely right. What works online is constantly changing. It's a fast-moving world. Banking on a strategy that basically relies on loopholes, and let's be honest, maybe even stealing from other creators, that's a pretty risky bet.
It's a good reminder that building something real online, something that lasts, takes time, takes effort, and maybe most importantly, it takes originality. Which brings us to the elephant in the room, the AI. This whole re-uploading method relies heavily on AI tools, like in video. I mean, they're using it for everything. Voiceovers, music, special effects. It makes you wonder about the future of content, doesn't it? What happens when everyone's using AI to make perfect content?
It's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? These AI tools, they're incredibly powerful. There's no doubt about that. They can help creators do some really amazing things. But there's another side to this whole AI thing. What happens when everyone's using it to create content that's technically flawless? Where's the human element, the personality, the realness that makes you want to watch something and connect with the creator?
Exactly. That's what makes content engaging. Can AI really replicate that human touch?
It's a good question. In a world where everyone's using AI to create content, the things that make us human, those become even more valuable. Things like authenticity, originality, that genuine human connection.
Imagine a world where almost everything we see online is made by AI. What happens to human creators then? Do we just become curators sorting through all this AI-generated stuff?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? And maybe a little bit unsettling. But it highlights something really important. Creators need to adapt. We can't just bury our heads in the sand. We need to find ways to use these AI tools to our advantage, but without losing the things that make us unique. Our voices, our perspectives, our creativity.
So it's about finding the right balance, using the power of AI without losing that essential human element.
Exactly. This re-uploading method, it might be giving us a glimpse into a future where AI plays a huge role in shaping online content. But it also shows us why human creativity is still so important, now more than ever.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What are the key takeaways for our listeners? If they're thinking about trying this re-uploading method, what do they absolutely need to know?
First and foremost, the legal side of this is still a big question mark. The YouTube video makes it sound straightforward, but copyright law is complex. Downloading and re-uploading someone else's content, even with modifications, could land you in some serious legal trouble.
So don't just take their word for it. Do your research, understand the potential consequences. What else should our listeners keep in mind?
We've got to talk about the ethical implications. Making money from someone else's creative work without their knowledge or consent, that raises some serious ethical red flags. We need to have respect for intellectual property.
It's a good reminder that just because something is possible doesn't mean it's right. Are there any other important points we should highlight?
The YouTube video we talked about, it shows people making money with this method. But remember, there are no guarantees of success online. It's a competitive world out there. Building a sustainable online presence, a brand that people recognize and trust, that takes more than just chasing trends. It requires creativity, authenticity, and a real connection with your audience.
So this re-uploading method might offer a quick fix in the short term, but it's probably not going to lead to long-term success, especially if you're aiming to build something meaningful and lasting. What's the big takeaway from our deep dive today?
This whole conversation about re-uploading, it really shines a light on how AI is changing the landscape of content creation. Tools like InVideo can be incredibly powerful assets for creators, but it's crucial that we use them ethically and responsibly. At the end of the day, human creativity needs to remain at the heart of content creation.
AI should be a tool that helps us, not something that dictates how we create. It's definitely a topic that sparks a lot of questions about the future of content. And it leads to an important question for all of us. What happens if this re-uploading thing becomes the norm? How will it change the way we consume and value online content?
That's a really great question. Will we become more discerning about the source of our content? Will we demand more transparency? Or will we just become accustomed to a world where the line between human-created and AI-generated content becomes increasingly blurred? It's definitely something to think about. Only time will tell how this all plays out, but one thing's for sure. The conversation about ethical content creation in the age of AI is just getting started.
And we'll be here to continue exploring it with you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights into the world of re-uploading videos from Chinese social media apps, the legal and ethical considerations involved, and the evolving role of AI in content creation. We encourage you to keep digging into these ideas, do your own research, share your thoughts, and let's navigate this ever-changing digital world together. Until next time, keep those deep dive vibes flowing.
Yeah, it boils down to respect, doesn't it? Respect for the people who put in the time and effort to create original content.
Totally. So we've got the legal concerns, the ethical ones. What else is there?
Well, the YouTube video shows some people making decent money with this method, but we got to remember, nothing's guaranteed online. It's a tough world to crack. Building a real, lasting online presence, something that people recognize and want to be a part of, that takes a lot more than just jumping on a trend. It takes creativity, being genuine, and building those real connections with your audience.
So sure, this re-uploading thing might work as a quick scheme, but if you're looking to build something real, something with staying power, it's probably not the way to go. What's the big overarching takeaway from all this?
This whole conversation has really highlighted how AI is changing everything about how we create content. Tools like InVideo, they can be amazing for creators, but we got to use them the right way. Ethically, responsibly. We can't let human creativity get lost in all the AI hype.
AI should be helping us be more creative, not replacing creativity altogether. It really makes you think about what's next for online content. What happens if everyone starts doing this?
Yeah, it brings up a huge question for everyone. If this re-uploading thing becomes the standard, how will that change how we experience and value content online? Will we start caring more about where our content comes from?
Will we demand to know if something was made by a person or by AI? Will we even be able to tell the difference anymore? It's definitely something to think about.
It is. Only time will tell how all this unfolds, but one thing's for sure. This whole discussion about ethics and AI is just getting started.
And we'll be here to navigate it with you every step of the way. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've learned a thing or two about re-uploading those videos from Chinese social media, the legal and ethical maze surrounding it, and how AI is changing the game for content creators everywhere. Keep exploring these ideas, do your own research, and let's figure this out together. Until next time, keep those deep dive vibes flowing.